If you've ever wanted someone to understand the realities of what you're going through in business, this is the episode for you. We're talking about selling through hell, an election year, rewiring your brain, and how to not go with the flow of what everyone else is doing. Guess what? Today, there's an amazing conversation that is you're about to witness it. We had to press record in the middle of an amazingly juicy conversation, and it's actually with the first two coaches I ever hired. I was someone who was struggling to sell. I could not even sell a face wash until I learned to sell, and I hired the guest that's with us today. Her name is Allie Reeves. She's absolutely amazing and was a massive part of the climb in my business, and you're going to see why today. Enjoy this episode.
I hate that I'm about to start this with I saw this on TikTok, but I'm going to start it like that. Every guy's podcast. No, man, yeah, man, it's just so crazy. So, no, dude, yeah, bro.
It's like, make out with your mic, why don't you? I mean, it's fine. Just skip to the good part.
It's so true. They're big old headphones on. Like, bro, she's so hot.
I think that there's something so cool about selling through hell. So we had this visual.
This is your mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you've been in the game so long.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my most excited things about being with you today was like, what have we all overcome?
Mm-hmm.
What have we all like gone through, and
Mm-hmm.
what have you learned and all this stuff? And we had this visual of like two mountains. There's like a little mountain, and then you go through the valley, and then there's a big mountain. And a lot of people are on this little mountain looking at a coach.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, I want what she has. What they don't see is the valley they went through,
Yeah.
which we call the valley of death, because
Okay.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's basically scriptural. It's like the death of your comfort, the death of your habits, the
Your
death of your
ego.
identity, the death of your ego,
Mm-hmm.
despair, just like, surely this isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
Surely she didn't feel this. Surely she wasn't confused.
Mhm.
Surely she didn't feel like she was in a dark hole, damp, dark. No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Just like a seed goes into this dark, damp ground. Like that's actually what it
Oh,
takes
that's
to
good.
establish it, to grow. And you have to go down before you go up. And the valley is such a good demonstration of that.
Mhm.
And I mean, Macy was doing a YouTube video yesterday. She was like, through hell. I'm like, yeah, like that is it. So I was just
Yeah.
thinking, like, what are your valleys? You know, like
Mhm.
even you described 2022 being so good.
Mhm.
And then 2023 comes, and just so happened to be, of course, you gave birth a few months before your
Mhm.
mom passes away, and you have a business to run.
Yeah.
You know? So like we don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but I was just so curious, like what has strengthened you
Mhm.
in the past few years?
Gosh. I mean, putting yourself in rooms of women who are also going through it, because you're right. Like, it's so easy to feel like you're the only one who's struggling with this particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
or that you're the only one who's not getting sales, or you're the only one having a down year or whatever. And then just like talking to y'all about the past couple years, and like before you guys took off in a freaking rocket, but prior to that, it was confusing for you guys. And to hear that
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, okay, cool. It's just nice. Like, it's one thing to see people at the top of their proverbial mountain, but you're not there for the whole thing. So when
Right.
you can put yourself in rooms or listen to podcasts or whatever of these conversations, it helps you put it all into perspective. So that's been very helpful. Also realizing too, again, this is a long game.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like we were talking about earlier, which was such a good conversation, and how you were saying, like, do it for the plot. You know, like there's no good movie. And this is, Macy was saying this, or Kat, one of y'all were saying, this is not mine, but there's no movie that you watch and it was like they were only winning.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be like, wow,
So boring.
cool. You know, it's like it's the rise, it's the dip, it's the part where you're in hell that makes it all interesting and exciting.
Right. It's not the movie you want to be in, but it's good for the plot.
It's not. And this isn't it. Like, you're in that part of the movie. This is not your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's one thing that I had to catch myself in, because in 2023, there were times where I was like, well, I guess this is just who I am now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Big loser. That was fun while it lasted. And it's like, no, it's just a point in the get over yourself. Like, you
Totally.
were such drama.
I guess I'm fat now.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess this is what we're doing now. I'm going to go get a job wherever. It's like,
Literally, when you're
you
pregnant,
could-
you're like, I will never be small again.
yes. But like, what makes me sad is how many, and I've witnessed women go through their first tough season in business.
Mm.
And instead of saying, well, this sucks, saying, all right, deuces.
Yeah.
And they go, and it's like, where are you going?
Yeah.
Are you in or are you out? Like
Yeah.
you're either, and you, like, if you stay in the game, you're meant to be here. There's no like, God said, okay, Kat, you're cute. I'm gonna let you be successful at
He
this
sure did
online
not do
business
that.
thing. Okay.
We all know that one.
Mace, cute. Gonna let you be successful. Her, not her. Like that doesn't there's nobody over there, by the way.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. Like if you choose to stay in the game, what is the quote? Like God calls the
qualifies the called.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Not
He doesn't call the qualified.
qualified.
Yep.
Exactly. That's it. So that hurts my heart for people who go through. So it's just like anything. And I think about, like, I always use athletes as an example. There's no athlete, like the best athlete in the world. Like how many losses did they have to go through to be great?
Way more than wins.
So many.
much more.
And it's the losses that made them good
And
in the first place.
And I don't know if this is true or not. Y'all tell me. But like, there's something about, I was just putting myself in the shoes of someone who's like not growing. They're just being. I'm like, them hearing stay in the game might confuse them or misconstrue what we're saying. We're not saying just like wait it out. We're saying like grow in the game.
Yes.
Like iterate, which is do something, make a tweak. There's so many variables in business. Like look at this with like critical thinking. Like how can you make a change?
Yeah.
How can you change your podcast cover? How can you invite new guests? How can you do something different to stay in the game? You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
there is no like tenure.
Right.
You've had your LLC renewed the most.
So you're
No
good.
one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yep.
Like, and I'm just afraid that people think that the longevity is that. It's staying power.
Yeah.
Because that is powerful, and like go iterate. It's so courageous to
You got to
iterate.
play the game, and you have to better yourself, and you have to grow. Kind of like going back to that moment where I was like, I've grown, but not at the level that I know I could over the course of 2 years. Like there's something here.
Yeah.
And the risk associated with that growth, I think, is why people don't, right? Because you're risking your ego, some security, what you're used to.
Yes.
What people are going to think. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved in growth, actually.
Well, especially, I mean, and one thing that I had to work through too is it's sometimes easier to take risks, big risks, when you're small and at the bottom of the mountain. And then you get like midway. And when you're called to make a pivot, when you're called to invest and, wire the money for the coach or whatever, and you have more to lose, navigating that I found was really interesting too. Cause it's like, oh, whatever, I'll bet it all. We don't have much to, but then it was like, I had this really big year, and it was like, I'm like, we have a lot riding on this. We have like this lifestyle, and I have people on my team, and I have people looking up to me, and it's like, whoa, the question of what if this doesn't work was a lot heavier then too. And navigating that was very interesting. And I could not have done it had it not been for mentorship and other women that I see also playing a big game. I got pregnant, and we were planning on getting pregnant, but I had never been pregnant in business before. So I had a moment where I was like, wait, and it was a brand new year. It was like January. I'm pregnant. I'm not showing yet, but I'm like, wait a second. How is this going to affect business? Yeah. Because I had never experienced it. I was like, wait, are people going to want to sign up for my stuff? Are they going to want to do long-term? Like, how would they feel about me eventually going to maternity leave? I just had no idea what that would look like. And fear started to take over. And I started to think about the worst, like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? And started kind of going on a wrong trajectory. And I remember distinctly, I stopped myself and I was like, no. I'm pregnant. I'm going to have this baby, and it's going to be the best decision I ever made for my business. It's going to be such an example of what women and moms get to be. I'm going to make pregnancy look good. I'm going to be a rock star pregnant woman, and my business is going to go through. And I'm like, I journaled this. I mean, I spoke this into existence. And sure enough, it turned into the best year that I've had so far. And what I was saying earlier was, because 2023 was different. And I think what's missing, I mean, there's obviously so many factors that play into how a year goes, but it's that drive, that decision. I made a decision in 2022. This is going to be this is it, and it's going to be the best, and I'm going to kill it. And I haven't done that since.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
It's been like I've let circumstances kind of like direct me a little bit and question myself versus saying, no, that stops here. Here's what I'm doing. Watch me, and it's very interesting. When
It's crazy how we have to like parent our brains like that.
Oh, big time.
Like you told your brain, no brain.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to have the worst year because you're pregnant.
Yeah.
You're going to have the best year. And then when was Rhett born? What month?
September.
Okay. So was that the September 23?
22.
Oh, he was born in 22. Okay. So 22 is your best year.
Yeah.
And then so following that, like your postpartum year was when it started going down.
And it was everything and changed. And, and again, lost my mom, and I was different. The vibes were different.
You didn't reset the intention.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I wasn't ready to, and I think I give myself a lot of grace. I wish I had given myself more grace actually, because I think I tried to force myself to like almost fake that, because I think that's a part of it too. Like it was very real in 2022. I felt it. And I certainly tried to manufacture that again, but it wasn't legit. I just don't think my spirit was ready for it yet. And I tried to force it versus like, I wonder if I had given myself the space to heal and do what I need to do versus like get back on the horse and, do it all again, just how I had done it. Like that's not going to happen. I'm literally a different human.
Right.
Right.
Very different circumstances. Why am I trying to recreate the same thing? So I got a little caught up in that.
Yeah.
That is interesting. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just thinking about, Myron has always said, whatever you think is keeping you hurting you is usually the very thing that is for you. Like we often people will say, you're so young. How can you know all this? And I asked him one time, I was like, Myron, do you think that we should do anything to project older than we are? And he's like, oh no, that's your advantage. Like anything that you think is a disadvantage is actually your advantage. And so now I think about my age. I think about like, being a woman like that. And that's kind of when we went into Sales Girls. I was like, wait, this isn't something to resist. This is something to embrace and go all in on. And so that pregnancy story makes me think of that.
Yes.
Your brain being like, like how to parent your brain in that direction of when you feel pulled back, it is the reason to fuel you.
To lean in.
Yeah. So good.
How do you want this to play out? Okay, then what do we need to tell ourselves to get to that outcome? It's not going to be, this is going to hurt me.
Yeah.
How do we shift that?
And I know whenever I was pregnant in business, I felt like it's so weird because Kat will be pregnant and I don't think twice about it. I'm like, she's just pregnant. Like I don't even think about it. I'm like, you look so cute. But when I'm pregnant, I'm like, no one's taking me seriously. It's so distracting that I have a belly. They think that I'm not focused, or like I have this story about everyone looks at the stomach, it looks at the belly and makes it about the belly and not the mission. And that is not the case for you at all. I do not feel that. It's just so funny. I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, how do we film this? We're like, you don't see it. Like that's kind of my subconscious.
Yeah.
Which is literally insane now that I'm saying it out loud. But that's
why do we do that to ourselves?
That's there. That's in the back. That's back there.
But it's so good that you're able to catch it and that we have this awareness though. Because and I think about how, I mean, I'm always doing work on myself. I know you guys that's
constantly
the point.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do.
That's the point.
And I think about like how many people out there that aren't aware of those narratives that are playing. And it breaks my heart.
Oh yeah. Because
I'm like, dude, if you could just like stop that track and put on a different CD. So old school.
Yeah.
Do you remember CD?
Yeah, compact disc.
So
yeah. And it's heartbreaking, like you said, because your brain is like a computer. It's not it doesn't do things that are good or bad. It just does what it's programmed to do.
It does what it does.
Does what it's programmed to do. And so that's how people's brains are. It's like it's not doing anything good or bad. It's just doing what it's programmed to do. And it is so cool that you have the ability to reprogram with a lot of work and
Mhm.
brainwashing and intentionality
Yep.
and environment and all of that. But people just run on their programming, man, and they're like, why is my life the same?
Yeah, and you know what I just
It's
remembered, Allie? I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm sure you connected this dot, but I know you so well. I've known you for 5 or 6 years.
Mhm.
You love the number 22.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it was 2022.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
winners
Oh, yeah.
always expect to win in advance.
That's right.
And so you
Wait.
probably expected it to be
The
the
best
best
year.
year
This is my
ever.
year.
Whoa.
And now you're still talking about it 2 years later.
Well, and I just so for everybody listening, we were prior to us hitting record. I don't know what got us on the subject, but we started talking about this, and I stopped myself because I noticed I kept telling the same story again and again, as if I had this great year, and then I had a baby, and my mom died, and everything went to crap.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
That's not helping.
Mm.
So yeah, that's
crazy,
so
right?
interesting.
Because
Whoa.
like
Wow.
you got pregnant, and that's totally a legit. Like I don't feel good.
Yeah.
I'm getting fatter. Like
my
I don't feel
gosh.
You
as
don't know how
confident.
it's gonna go.
And
Yeah.
so that's like a natural decline, but you flipped it. You're like, no.
I
This is
flipped
supposed
it.
to be my year.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, you're programmed to think like 22. I'm just saying that because I know you so well. But
Well, yeah, and you nailed it. And it wasn't, and I want to be clear, like that's actually so important because it wasn't an option in my mind.
right,
There was no option that was not going to be my best. So every action that I took was through the energy of this is going to kill.
Mm.
This is going to be and holding that energy, which obviously like every day it wasn't the easiest thing to do, but it did build a momentum.
Mhm.
And in the same way that you can build that momentum for something that's serving you, it certainly can go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And I think like, gosh, I mean, you can lose years doing that. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. For me?
Yeah.
Specifically? Oh, okay.
This is my podcast now.
Yeah.
No, but let's talk about with the subconscious
Yeah.
programming.
Mhm.
Do you do anything specifically for that? I'm so interested.
All day, every day.
Tell me. Tell us.
I read
Okay.
a lot.
Mhm.
I say a lot, 10 pages a day.
Okay.
I actually just did a video yesterday on how I brainwash myself with the stuff in my office. Like
Okay.
literally so it's like you do these micro interactions in your micro environments
Mhm.
that like strengthens a path
Yeah.
that you want to have. So I'll give you just like a quick example. One of the things that is so your brain naturally is looking at the past to know how to handle the future. So if you burn your hand on a stove, you're like, oh, I'm not going to touch that tomorrow. And then you see the stove the next day. You're like, I know not to go back.
Mhm.
So even just the other day, we had a client in here, and she was like, it takes people 9 months to buy from me. I was like, does it? She was like, yeah, all my data. If you look at all my data, it just does. And I'm like, okay, maybe, or you could be creating environment for that to happen because you're looking at the past versus what could be the future,
So
right?
you're creating a 9-month funnel.
Yeah. So if your brain is naturally looking at the past, what I like to do is put evidence of success everywhere
Mhm.
to prove, because obviously we fail all the time, but I'm finding I want to put evidence of in the past we like succeed, period.
Mm.
So there's a text, for example, Kat took a little selfie of herself and sent on our $1 million day.
Mhm.
She was driving to the venue and she said, feeling cute, might have a $1 million day today. That's what she said. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to cause a stampede is what I
Wait,
said.
was that prior to
Those-
the?
Yeah, prior. She just,
You
and so I have a
decided.
screenshot of that and I framed it. So that's like an example of like
Yeah.
brainwashing myself.
Yeah.
I do thought downloads every single day, which is basically a 10-minute timer to journal. And and it's good, bad, and ugly, mostly ugly.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
then,
so you get out the negative thoughts?
anything that's in my mind.
Okay.
If I need to remember, pick up the dry cleaning, or I hate myself today, or this is not working, and this is hard, or this is going amazing, and everything's working, like just whatever is in my mind.
Mhm.
And if I feel like I'm done and the 10 minutes isn't off, I sit there and I say, what else? What else? What else is in there? What else is in there? I do not stop until it's 10 minutes.
Mm.
And then I just take a good look. And what's really important is for me to look at my thoughts outside of myself and not as myself.
Look at your thoughts outside of yourself.
Yeah, like
Like you're observing
I'm
your life.
observing them.
Yeah.
I separate them. I look at them as if
Okay.
it's someone else's.
Love.
And so I'm just like, okay, is there anything that could be reframed?
Mhm.
And then I will journal like how I want to reframe it. And that really helps me.
Game changer.
So cool, right?
That's so good.
Yeah, I mean, there's just I
do you
like
do
to
subliminals
marinate.
or anything?
I
Okay.
don't even know what that is, but I do a lot of like I like to, like Myron taught us, anytime we say a number, it's like, it's only 20 million. it's only 100 million. Like I'll see a house that's 20 million. I'm like, oh, it's only 20 million. That's no problem. Like just this little
I love it.
like marinating in like really big numbers and we sold it for 50 million. Yeah, that makes sense. It's easy.
course.
Like that kind of like tone all the time. When
Mhm.
Austin says something is expensive, my husband, I get really mad at him. I'm like, watch your mouth.
No.
Watch your mouth. That
You
is
don't
not
do
true.
that, sir.
So just like little stuff like that. I just love to brainwash myself.
Oh, that's
as much.
so good.
What are subliminals? I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so it's like maybe hypnosis
so
is
it's
the
like,
better word.
Yeah.
So I've started to do this. I'll listen like it's good either right when you wake up or right before you go to bed when you're drowsy because it accesses your subconscious mind easier. So it'll be a pre-recorded vibe hypnosis type situation and it's just speaking
And
to you.
all like hypnosis is speaking to the subconscious.
That's all it is.
That's all that it is. It
Nothing to
sounds
be scared of.
It kind of sounds spooky.
Yeah.
But the thing is like that is your programming is your subconscious. Like that is what you're running on.
Mhm.
And so like the only way to get to that program is to speak to the subconscious. I
Yes.
hate that it's called hypnosis.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, because it gives such a bad connotation.
But it's really just like getting back
this
there.
helped me. I did Christian hypnobirthing
Yeah.
for my home birth.
Yeah, that's good.
With Judah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I listened to the app. It was like this Australian woman doing scripture.
So cool. Yes.
That were like
Oh,
affirming and
nice.
encouraging.
Yes, that's
Oh, that's
and,
amazing.
and some non-scriptures like my body was made for birth.
That's good.
And just in this music, and I would fall asleep to it. And I've never fallen asleep to words since I was like in
Wow.
high school watching TV.
Oh,
To
that's
MTV.
so cool.
It was so beautiful. And
So you did it leading up to birth to
Yeah.
prepare yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
and even when I was in labor, it was like the hardest thing ever. And I had like a worship music playlist, and I had this hypnobirthing playlist. And my midwife was like, "When you listen to that, is when your water broke because your body relaxed."
The hypno.
Yeah. And so
Wow.
my brain had been like so
Marinating.
relaxed.
Yeah.
It was used to relaxing. I even took a nap,
Mm.
and that's just
in your labor you did?
yeah,
Wow.
not like a great one, but like better than nothing because
Yeah.
it's hard work.
Mhm.
But something Tony Robbins talks about when it comes to rewiring is like there's a way to like thought swap, right? And be like,
Yeah.
well, if I just think different, then I'll like
Yeah,
do
it's not.
different.
Mhm.
But the really cool thing, and I feel like I started this when I was working with you years ago, was like changing your state. It's what he talks about.
Mhm.
So getting into a different emotion as you have the thought,
That-
Mhm.
because thoughts plus emotions is how you create the pathway.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Like I'm so mad when I talk to so and so, and then you have this pathway for anger.
Yeah.
Whereas when I get into this state of like hopefulness and joy and
Yeah.
anticipation, when I think about
Yeah.
Yes.
hitting $1 million or having this type of client, like that just feels easy and effortless, and you create the pathway. So that was like a life changer for me. And you told me about the book You Squared.
Mhm.
Oh,
Christ
she
Richard.
did?
Yes.
You're kidding
Yeah.
me. Wow.
So
Isn't that the best
Game
book ever?
changer.
And it's
Yeah.
so short. It's the best.
I know.
Myron says you should read it every single week.
Mhm.
Read it. We swear it every week.
And so we read that on the plane after we made our $350,000 investment.
Yeah.
I was like,
We
did I
read
tell you
it.
to buy it? Because
Oh yeah, we were both.
or
reading
you had
it.
my copy. I was
Something.
like, we're both terrified. And it's like, okay, the fly's hitting the window. Like we
Yeah.
can't, like, we. It was just this cool, like what
The back of
what
the
is meant for you is
plane.
right in front of you.
Yes.
You're just not. You're not accessing it. Like you're making
Yes.
it so much harder.
You're making it so much harder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And women
Yes.
have got to do this more than men. Ain't
Oh,
no
my-
way. I don't think men even know how to complicate stuff like we do.
That's so true.
But we know how.
Yes, we
because
do.
we
Yeah.
like create.
and it comes from a good place. We're trying to
Yeah.
add more value, or we're trying to
Mhm.
or it's your subconscious that's making you feel as if you're not ready for this. You need to do more. You need to be different. You're not,
Mhm.
and you're just naturally, if that's what your subconscious is telling you, you're not going to go directly for the thing. You're going to go to
Mhm.
probably the long way around
Yeah.
it.
And it's interesting. I feel like I used to think that you had to rewire. Okay, this is just my experience. This could be completely wrong. We've had so much growth this year
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like I've had to work on my brain now more than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
More than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before I thought, oh, I need to work on my brain so that I can have the growth,
Mm,
right?
Yeah.
But now
That's
I'm
a good
like,
point.
whoa, is my brain caught up to who we are now? And I heard Brooke Castillo, I don't know exactly what she was
Software
talking about a
updates.
book called The Big Leap. She was like, oh, what that book, she just said this, she's like, that book really taught me, once you hit an upper limit, like a certain level, you kind of start to sabotage yourself because
Yep.
your brain hasn't
Yep.
caught up. And so it's like how to stay.
Mm.
And I feel
So
that
good.
like I told you today, I'm like, I feel like the weirdest I felt in a long time.
The
And I
clothes is a
know.
good example of how to keep that upper limit.
Yeah. So like clothing, like a good way
Yeah.
to bridge the bridge and like
Mhm.
stay. And people tend to dress in 3 categories, like who they desire to be, who they are most of the time, and then who they fear to be. And so I know like I have some outfits and some clothing that I don't like feel the best in, and I will reach for when I don't feel the best in to like continue not feeling good, to like
Interesting.
to
Mm.
indulge myself and then not feeling good, you know?
I would love to know which
Yeah.
outfits those
Oh,
are.
I have
Yeah,
them.
what
I
are
have
they?
them. I have them. Don't worry. But I like, and they're like comfortable, and I like them, you
Mhm.
know. And so I've actually gotten rid of them, and it's like painful. But I'm like, I'm not even letting that be an option right now, you know.
Oh, I love that so much.
So I just have all my. It's just I'm really working. I'm really working.
You know what's so interesting is thinking like that when it can feel so optional. Like,
Mhm.
well, I don't have to do that. Like, I don't have
100%.
to get rid of my shirt from 2020. It's
Yeah.
so
This
cute.
is silly. It's clothes.
It's so, yeah, like you
It's
can talk
not.
rationalize
Mhm.
yourself out of. We talk to our clients about this all the time. Rationalizations
Mhm.
that feel so like, come on, like let's
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
real. But what is at stake if you don't
Mhm.
like maintain your new upper limit? Like the thermostat,
Yes.
it went up. Now
Yeah.
let's create a new thermostat where you're comfortable. So I
Mhm.
guess a way to like create a new level of comfort. What used to be uncomfortable is now comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like it being your standard.
Yeah.
There is no
It's
reminders of the
that is
past.
100% it.
Gosh,
100% it. Yeah.
I am thinking of one shirt right now.
You
and
know
I'm glad
it.
to
You
throw it
know
away.
it.
I know the shirt,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
literally don't want to wear it, but it's
Yep.
still there.
Yep.
You know what it is for me? It's undergarments.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I'm
That's
thinking,
a
I'm
real
like, how
thing.
embarrassing. Ew.
No,
But
it's
isn't
important.
that interesting? It's like under and whoa.
Nobody
Closer
sees
to
it,
you.
closer to you.
It's the
Oh,
most
yeah.
intimate. Like
Okay,
that should
let
be
me
the
run
nicest.
this one by you.
Okay.
Let me run this one by you. I want a new Porsche.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's my dream car.
Cool. Like a
Cayenne. Blacked out. Okay. And there's been so many times where I'm like, I'm gonna go get the car.
Uh-huh.
Because to me, it's part of it all adds up. It
Yeah.
all goes together.
It's all free.
And when
It all pays for
it all
itself.
pays
No, it makes money. It's
It
not
makes
free.
I'm
us
sorry.
money.
I'm sorry.
It makes you money.
Yes, it makes us
but in
money.
the end, it basically
It's
yeah.
profitable.
It's I'm gonna make money. Yeah.
Free is the grossest word. We're not allowed to say that anymore.
We said that about $1 million offer. Don't
know.
act like you're getting mad at me for the
I'm
first
totally
time.
messing with you. I'm totally messing with you. Okay.
But to me, it's like, and kind of you had said this about your car. It's not a match. Like
Oh, yeah.
my car, it's not
Yeah.
a match
Oh
for
yeah,
where I
it
am.
really hurts my head. So yeah, there's like a whole theory, and I can't remember. It's like I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like when you're in an environment that doesn't reflect you,
Yes.
it can cause a lot of like internal like I don't love like anxiety. It just gives it so much power, but like a lot of like
Cognitive dissonance,
it's
right?
cognitive
dissonance.
dissonance, yeah. And I feel that way about like my refrigerator. I have a thing about my refrigerator. Like
Okay.
it doesn't represent who I
Yeah.
am. And every time I open it, I almost have a mental breakdown.
That's a
like I cannot
problem.
stand it. Okay, that's so dramatic. That's not true. But it is totally a thing that when you're in a place and you're like, we fly first class. And if there's ever a seat that's not in first class, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm sitting in the back of the plane. I'm like, this is not me. I gotta get out. Like I almost have this like feeling of like I have to get out of here. This is not who I am.
Yeah.
It's a thing. So
Mhm.
listen, if you're looking to justify a purchase, you can come to me. I'll
Somebody
help you
send
justify
this
it
to my
real quick.
husband.
Yeah.
Lindsay, if you could send this to Chris Reeves.
Chris Reeves.
Because we are he is this, okay, I'm married to the best man on the planet, like y'all are. But this is where we don't connect because in my mind, it makes too much sense.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
To him, he is so like
Yeah.
logical, linear. You drive a Lexus, drive it till the wheels fall off. It's
Yeah.
paid off. And I'm like, the wheels will never fall off.
Yeah.
It's a Toyota.
Yeah. So whenever I talk to women about investing in they always bring up their husbands. My question is like, is he an entrepreneur?
Yeah. No.
And it's usually no.
Yeah.
Because what we believe is like, we literally the
He
limit
makes
is
us money.
the limit does not exist of how much money we can make because we can
Yes.
sell.
Yes.
It doesn't. It's just literally money. What even is money? It doesn't even
Yes.
like matter.
And that's how I think.
And that's how we think.
Oh
Yep.
my
And that's who we
gosh.
are. And listen, my husband's a country boy, and so he is not like that at first.
Yeah.
But there's something called indoctrination. And
Well, will you
you
send me your
just-
process for that, please?
I mean, I just riff on him the way I riff on this, you know?
I think I need to do it more because I'm just like, okay, whatever. Well,
Yeah.
we're pretty good,
Yeah.
but I think that there could be more of indoctrination happening.
Yeah. I mean, Carl, like when he started, does he read? Does Chris read?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And he's all
Okay.
about
Like personal development and stuff?
all about
Okay.
it. And
Sales
he's
bro.
gotten. I'm going to give him credit. Like when it comes to business and investing, he's like, go.
Yeah.
But it's the
car.
liability
The
thing.
liability.
complementary things.
Yeah.
That I like. For me, it's all the package.
Yeah.
For him, he's like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I know that's why this works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
That's
there's
why
always
this
one.
works.
Carl's the one who wants me to
Mhm.
have
Like the nice
he's like
thing.
itching for me to get a nicer car.
Mhm.
I have a Odyssey right now
Mhm.
because I got the button doors. I'm like, that aligns with who I am in so many other ways. That I'm
Yeah.
like, this is comfortable for me. Like, I love being the mom that the kids like. It's great. And
Mhm.
the hot mom car is coming. So Carl wishes I had a hot mom car.
That's
I'm like,
so hilarious.
That is funny.
I am going to be hot in the van, and then
Make
the van will catch
vans
up.
hot.
I know.
I guess it's
One
a good thing
leans-
that there's got to be balance. Otherwise, we would be on the street.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, what also makes us really good at sales is like we can girl math
Right.
really
exactly.
easily.
Yes.
And that's why we say it makes you money because we're like girl mathing it. But also what
That's like sales girl math. So girl
Yeah.
math is like it's free.
yeah,
Sales girl math is it makes you money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it. That's
Oh,
it.
I also like to remind
Mm-hmm.
Austin of every single time that we've made an investment. It's not if we make it back, it's like, oh, let's see how much we can make back and how quickly.
fast, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I have such a history of success
Mhm.
that at this point he's like,
Yeah.
whatever you say,
I mean,
because
when you're
I
having
can't
$1
even.
million days, it's hard to argue.
That he's like, whatever, it's gonna be
All
fine
right.
either way. So you got this.
$1 million day.
I can totally see you
2025,
with
let's-
a with a
The
little
story
Porsche.
thing though is so big. Like
Mhm.
you were telling that story and like you caught yourself. You're like, why am I
Yes.
telling the story? Like
Yeah.
that was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And you have this gifting in
Mhm.
you that like helps bring greatness out of others and showing them how to
Mhm.
package their
Mhm.
skill set to make offers. So it's like there's no reason for you not to be doing that,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
and making all the money that you want. But have you read the book 10x is easier than 2x?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with that book.
Okay, that is like what you need to do. We're talking
Yes.
about trimming fat.
Yes.
Get hot. From
100%.
the inside out in your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Lean up. Tone up.
So funny.
That's going to be y'all's
Your
next
business needs
offer.
abs, Allie.
Business.
You need some abs.
That's
and
right.
then, I mean, it's crazy. Like, okay, there's a girl who she's been trying to sell her offer like forever
Mhm.
and just not hitting, and people don't really want it. And like, she thinks it's really powerful, so it should
Mhm.
work. And, you know, if I just try harder.
Yeah.
And she ended up cutting 80% of the content,
Mhm.
focusing on this one little niche, which is actually how to help people be more creative
Mm.
using music. She had a
Oh.
17x launch, like only sold a couple here and there.
Yeah.
17x in one launch.
Wow.
And I looked at her and said, you know, you cut your hair too. Like you're looking like that. She said 80% off.
Wow.
And the girl is the sweetest thing that you've ever seen, you know.
Oh, I know.
And I was like,
Wait,
you are
Does
swagger
she
right
play
now.
violin?
No.
Cello. What is her name?
Ina.
Ina.
You know Ina?
I do. Yes. I was like, oh wait, are we thinking about the same person?
Yes.
Yes.
She's amazing.
I was
No,
like, you-
she's an actual angel.
She's amazing.
Shout out Ina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing. So I was like, you have
I
swagger
knew
right
that's
now.
who you were talking about.
And it's just so ironic where people think, okay, well, if I'm more, like, especially women, like, if I'm just be more and do more, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, be more, but you don't necessarily have to do more. It's actually like
Yes.
do less and do it well
Yes.
and be known for something.
That's right.
And when you do that, you also speak to less people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, my big thing this year, I've said it to our clients a lot, which is like, just talk to the 1%.
Mhm.
Not because of the 1% of their money. Yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
Because the 1% is actually kind of a lot of people. Like billionaires are actually 0.001%.
Mhm.
So like the 1%, but like the 1% identity, the winners,
Mhm.
high achievers, type A, like, well, who are they and how do they resonate?
Mhm.
Because women they talk to like so many people and they do so many things. And I swear that's why it's going slow.
Yeah.
So she cut off 80%. Amazing book
Brilliant.
for anyone who needs to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
good.
Oh, please go read that book. That
Yeah.
book shifted so much for me and
Yeah.
has been a huge catalyst for the actually I heard you say this in the Myron.
Mhm.
Was it the Myron? I can't remember where I heard you say this. How you feel like your brain was goo because
Mm.
it's transformed so much and you're like reprogramming.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like when you said that, I was like, wait a second. I wonder if that's what I'm experiencing.
100%.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing so much work and so much has shifted, and I'm looking at everything so different that my current circumstances, my current business, it doesn't make sense for the way that I've been projecting it into the future.
Do you feel resistance? Because when you're like, my business structure doesn't make sense, so you know that. Do you feel resistance to making changes? Like actually making the changes, even though logically you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. What resistance do you feel?
I feel, it's a little bit of laziness because it's like, oh my gosh,
Making pretty good money for it being pretty easy, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, man, to like shift things again. And like, I don't want to, also a little bit of worried about judgment and like, am I shifting too much? I mean, I think that's natural for a lot of people to be concerned about, but yeah, it's like, there's a part of me that's excited about it. But then there's of course the thought of like, and what if it doesn't work? So it's like all of those thoughts come up and I know how to look at them and, shift them. And, we do that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's normal for somebody to feel that way, or at least I think it is.
100%.
But, resistance for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, but I'm going to drag my feet for like 5 seconds and cry. Like a lot.
Your life is going to be so much easier.
Teenager
and lighter.
I'm gonna do it.
I think so. Yeah. Do it, okay?
Mom. You're just saying, Mama. Noah. That's that.
Yeah, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did y'all feel whenever you were shifting?
I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. And was it going to work? I like cried in bed in a hotel room with Kat. Like,
totally.
I mean, talking about Myron, like pretty much every time we were with him, like we cried at some point. Like, and he does not know how to. He's a man with 7 brothers, like I said,
because of
just like, but like just emotion. It's just like a lot going on, a lot of shit, like judgment, and like But while there's of course like people have thoughts, and also that actually is what inspires people. Because what I have found is that when people are just so used to doing what they do and they're comfortable, people want to follow someone that's going somewhere, like that's moving and going, even if it's changing. And so if you're just kind of doing the same thing and you're not moving, there's no one to follow. People walk around you.
Yeah.
And like I think about Russell Brunson, he has who knows how much money. I mean, ClickFunnels is kills it
He doesn't need
all
to work,
the way
obviously.
around. Doesn't need to work.
Yeah.
But every time he stands in front of his mastermind, he's like, this is what I'm trying. This is what I'm learning. This is what I'm doing. And I'm just like, he will never outrun me. Like he will never outrun it mentally, not like physically, but like he's always searching for the next thing. And I can't get enough of that. Like I want that. And he's always changing stuff. And he's like, different offer. And that didn't work. And let's try this. And of course it's chaos. And of course it's a dumpster fire sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm so hungry to learn from someone like that. And that's how people will be for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm attracted to that. I think that's cool. And I actually had a moment, this is so small and interesting, but it was a moment where I kind of caught myself and I was like, ooh, I don't like that. But a client who I used to work with maybe like a year and a half ago, kind of like was doing her thing, implementing, and then she came back. She like randomly booked a call with me.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was great. But when she signed on, I had this one, I was like, deja vu, but back, like, wait a second. I was just doing this. Like nothing's changed. Like my backdrop's the same. Everything's the same. I'm like, and I had the thought, I was like, I wonder how she feels about that. I wonder because if let's say like, I was working with Melanie and Lair and, let's say like in 2 years I come back to her and if like everything was exactly the same.
Oh, wow.
What would you
think?
I would think that she's not evolving.
Wow.
That would be a red flag to me.
Wow.
Because I know how this works.
Wow.
And also I'm attracted to rising and growing.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to remind ourselves of in these moments where it does, like, of course, when you're walking into a new space that you've never been before, you're going to have a level of trepidation there. You're human, but also thinking about like, okay, but what if you don't? And imagine like just staying where you are.
So good.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like how like 2 years ago we were having the same exact, I mean, obviously there were changes, of course, but like the environment was the same. And in large part, there were a lot of similarities. And I was like, that won't happen again.
Wow. Wow. That's so good.
So you felt the same.
Yeah. It felt like I had this moment where I had to be very honest with myself that
Mhm.
I haven't moved on the things as quickly as I know I
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's
Yeah.
interesting about the coaching industry is people pay you for your experience.
Mhm.
They pay you to compress
Wow.
time,
Yes.
and experience is
That's it.
what
That's it.
compresses time.
Mhm.
And so the more
So
that we
good.
can skin our knees and be like, "Okay, I have a story to tell.
That's
That's
it.
right.
I spent some money. I'm gonna tell you how I spent some money." Like people
Yes.
pay for you to tell them your money story.
That's
You know what I mean?
Whoa.
1,000,000% it.
We could tell it here, and it would not land the same as someone who paid you to
Right.
hear it and to be able to teach it to a group of people who
And
are
who's
in the same
experienced
game.
some things, right? And like
Mhm.
who rose and fall and who's experienced people being mad at them. And you would ask like what was one of the things that attracted me to my old coach. One of the biggest things is I watched her go through one of the craziest public hater type situations
Oh,
where
cool.
like, I mean, trial by fire. Like I don't even know how the woman stood after that.
Wow.
Wow.
And she handled it with so much grace and poise and just like was able to compartmentalize and feel, but then also run this business and show up. And I was like, that's my person.
Wow.
That's it. Like if you can hold that. So I think like we need to realize that, yeah, we're going to fall. We are going to skin our knees.
Mhm.
It's not always going to be pretty. You do it for the plot, like
That's
we talked
right.
about. And the real ones who get it, who are actually in the game, who want to play the game, real recognizes real.
Yeah.
And you're going to be that person for them.
Wow.
Amen.
That's so good. Okay, so I'm curious to know about what you see in your clients right now. Like, what are they dealing with?
Mm-hmm.
What are they missing? What are their blind spots?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you coach them in those blind spots?
One of the big areas that's been coming up a lot, and I think it's because it is an election year, but there's been a lot of confusion on the internet, confusion with content creation. What's my voice? There's been a lot of comparison and looking at the wrong metrics, I've noticed,
Okay.
where people, my clients, some of my clients specifically, will like not share their message or get themselves in this negative spiral because they don't have as many likes as y'all, or they don't have as many likes as somebody else,
Wow.
that means that nobody's listening, nobody's here. So I had to like do a huge reframe around like, here's the metrics that we pay attention to. Your bank account.
That's right.
That's
Tell me
what we
about
look
it.
at.
Yeah.
Right? Like on Instagram, I mean, yes, likes are great, followers are great. So that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Gosh, another area. I help women a lot catch those negative spiral moments where it's an opportunity to, like I can catch when somebody has grabbed hold of some sort of belief that is not serving them. For example, again, let's use the election year as an example. I would catch some of my clients be like, well, it's an election year. There's not going to be a lot of people spending money right now. And I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Crazy.
What do you mean? Like, okay, can we find examples of that? Of course. Can we find examples of the opposite of that? Of course. And even more so.
Yeah.
So it's like looking at the wrong thing. We've been doing a lot of that.
Yeah. Those rationalizations, man.
I tell you.
Yeah.
You can
Winners
find
gonna
one.
win.
Winners are gonna win. Yeah, the thing about rationalizations is like I always think about people like Lance Armstrong. Like he won the Tour de France multiple times with a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
If you had cancer, would you rationalize yourself out of doing those bike tours? Me.
100%.
I'd be like, yeah, that's definitely not for me anymore. Like that is an example of how rationalizations are just not always true.
Yeah.
They are literally like shadows.
Yes.
They just aren't true.
Yeah.
And the best way to get rid of shadows is bring light to it.
Yeah.
And airplanes is another one. Like the thing about the first airplane that ever went to the sky, someone wasn't like, hey, there's a thing called gravity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what that means is this is not possible. Like I would never go on the first airplane because of I go rationalize myself out of it like that.
Sure.
So it's just so easy. Thank God I can't always get myself out of it, but I can catch myself at least. It's crazy.
I feel like that's probably why I feel like that's probably how y'all work together so well. I mean, you guys were soulmates, like meant to come together and do this. But I can imagine it's almost like a relationship. Like when Chris is panicking about something, which he never does. Okay, so when I'm panicking about something, his job is to stay calm. You know, so I bet you guys really work together where like, you're going to go through a spiral. So I
Totally.
bet you can catch that and be like, hey.
It's almost supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could go through a funk of funks. I've actually had a really funky year, so I want to talk about this in a second. But I could have like my best day ever and talk to her and be like, she's like randomly having an off day. I'm like, oh, it is almost like clockwork.
Right.
That we're like on this opposite,
Yeah.
not always, but it's not even dramatic. It's just
Sure.
a slight thing where I'm like, I am able and willing to help her in her thing, and she's beyond able to help me in mine. Like, example, we have babies in opposite years.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I had 2 miscarriages in 2020.
Yeah.
That was rough. But then after that, Rush was born in 2021, Judah born in 2022, Arch was born in 2023, Ruby was born in 2024. Like
Wow.
literally, it's been pregnant baby. So
That's insane.
one of us is either nursing or pregnant. Right now, it's neither. Thank you, Lord,
Yeah.
for a little break.
Margaritas after this.
Yeah. So it's just, it's been a blessing. But I did want to, and you know, people have been asking us about partnership a lot, which is not really what I want to talk about right now. But it is so powerful. There's a scripture or saying, I don't know if it's a scripture. One can go by 2,000, two can go 10,000.
So true.
And it's just the ability for like 2 horses
Yeah.
to pull so much more weight than 1 horse.
Yeah.
Not by double,
Mm-hmm.
but by an exponential.
Yeah.
So
And
good.
I don't think that every single person is even like capable of probably being, I mean, okay, I was going to say a good partner. I don't think some people are just like, it's not their vibe. But for us, like, it just has made so much sense to pull the chariot, if you will.
I mean, clearly, I mean, it's really impressive to watch, and it makes me, I don't think I'll ever do it just because I'm so painfully introverted in a lot of ways. I don't think it would be, I don't know, who knows, never say never, but watching y'all, it is enticing because it's like, man, I bet that's nice.
And
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't think about it being like, do you feel when you're married, you can be your introverted self
That's true.
with
Yeah.
them,
That's
right?
true.
So I don't ever feel like I have to like do anything or be anything. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want
right.
to say a word to you right now. Just
Right.
be silent with me. It's
Yeah.
like, cool. So it's not
Yeah.
like that at all. I
You
get
would
it.
it would
I
have to
get
be
it.
that fit though. That's
Yeah,
finding
and
that
the thing
person.
is like people, I'm looking for my Macy for my cat, and I'm like, don't.
Yeah. She'll
Like
find you.
it was not intentional. It just was like, this is inevitable. That's what it almost has to
Yeah.
be like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is inevitable.
I just actually filmed a YouTube video on my story, and a lot of stuff came up, and I was actually working with you in 2019, like shortly after I learned sales skills. So it was like, okay, a coach can actually help me
That's
like
right.
strategize because I have the skill to do it. Would you agree? Like Kat can actually do what I'm telling her to do.
Oh God.
You know what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways. So the year that like you got to know me was when I was just showing up to every one of the sales training.
Yeah.
It's
Every
crazy.
single one.
You went all in.
And like I was like selling some of your programs, some of her programs, some of their programs. I'm like making like these moves, and I'm loving it. I'm selling the skincare better and all this stuff. And the reason I say that is because I was on my own winning path. I was like, I'm
So
going, I'm
good.
cruising, I'm making more money every month. Like, and the day that Mason and I decided to partner, she was like, you realize how much we're paying you, right? I was like, I have no idea. She's like, it's this much. I'm like, whoa, like that's crazy. And
so funny.
and then when we decided, like, let's just do this together,
Yeah.
I dropped everything. And the reason I say that is because I think some partners are like, we need each other to like do well. So we didn't need each other to do well.
Wow.
And that's honestly how marriages work.
That's so true.
Like go be a whole
Person.
booty person, a whole butt person.
That's so
and you be a whole
true.
butt person. And then you make each other double whole, not 2 people who need each other.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Because then it turns into a weird codependent
Totally.
type situation.
And it's like, but I thought you were, I thought it's like,
Wow.
no, we're just 2
You
whole
thought
people
wrong.
who came together for a mission, you know?
Yes.
And
Dang.
that,
Did that come to you yesterday?
yes.
Did you say that in the story?
Yes.
It's really good.
That's so good.
You know what? I actually forgot to say it. I sat my hiney back down. I said, I forgot to say something. And it was really important.
Good job.
So I did.
Good job.
Because it's such a interesting part of the story that I was making the most money I'd ever made. So was she, because the company just kept growing.
Yeah.
And to be like, you remember I posted on my Instagram the next day, like,
That
buy a skincare
Yes,
company.
crazy.
Like I'm done.
I mean,
they-
like,
crazy.
and they got so mad.
Yeah.
Talk about, I forgot about that. I actually like 2020 is the worst year of my life. That was
That was pretty bad.
so hard.
yeah.
People were like, the company's like, you're ruining their enthusiasm. I got an email from a corporate company. You're ruining. I'm like, I understand. I'm
I'd
like
be mad
being a sales
too.
girl. I'm like, my point was to increase their enthusiasm, but
Wow.
yeah,
I really blacked that out.
totally. Me
That's
too.
so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because you're such a good, both of you are such a good example of this, but around this time, you were the epitome of all in.
Mm.
I mean, all in, and when you were selling Rodan and Fields, you were like all in with that. And then when you started working
Yeah.
with or doing, was it guide culture at the time?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay.
Really confident,
But
I
you would
think.
like go to every single thing and then you would get Carl involved. And I was like, wow, that's really amazing. Like when you're in, you're in. So I can imagine from your viewpoint, you're like,
I'm like, what is going
that's
on?
an asset. That's
Well, she sat front on the left every time. And she just always had a comment. Like we would have a little session and she'd be like, I also have something to say. And it was every time she opened her
Lloyd would
mouth.
start actually looking at me. He's like,
Would you like
do you
some-
want to ask?
Yeah.
But her comment,
you're like, I'm just gonna step on stage real quick.
her comments were so good.
Yeah.
They were I was like, whoa. Like it would blow my mind every time she opened her mouth. And then it was kind of a joke. I was like, do you just want to come up here?
Yeah.
And then to the side, I was like, hey, no, really? Do you just want to like come up here? And then when she started teaching your content is one thing, teaching someone else's content is totally different.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
different.
true.
And so you kind of went through a little situation trying to like make it your own. Anyway, whatever. The point is, it was so inevitable. I was like, okay, you're clearly better than me in a lot of things. So just come on.
Well, that's not true, but it is so fun. It is so fun to let things organically happen as they're supposed to.
But
and
honestly, Ellie, that's why I was asking about your team at breakfast. I'm like, tell me about your team. Because like the team, like we are made to create together. We are made to cooperate together.
Yeah.
That is how all Dr. Rabbi Lapkin says all joyful and important things are made with at least one other person. All joyful and important things.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, who's your team? Because that is so critical for your inspiration too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's an area that
yeah, we're gonna get you revved up.
Yeah,
revved up. It's
I'm feeling like the Porsche is critical to the mission.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I feel like a chocolate brown one, to be honest with
Maybe
you.
after the Chris, I can't even.
Listen, take your time. There's a Porsche dealership like right up the road.
Yeah.
Next time I come, we'll take a little
girl.
mosey.
We'll go after this. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just mosey yourself.
But I
up
can't be
there.
the only one who gets something.
I mean, listen. Twist my arm.
Did you see Mark Zuckerberg got his wife? What was it? She wanted a Porsche, but I guess also has multiple kids, so wanted a minivan.
Yeah, what did they do?
So they had Porsche create like the one and only
You're kidding.
van Porsche.
Amazing.
Wow. You know,
So maybe it'll be a thing.
okay, so I've been on Twitter a lot since like the past year. I don't know. Anyway, Elon was posting the way that Tesla's going to make their like family car. And so they're, oh my gosh, the ones that looked like the Lincoln Navigators and then the ones that just are going to be
They're gonna do
delicious.
that?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
you know, it's so
sick.
cool as the market is being like,
We
if you
want
want to
that.
have more kids because population is declining,
right.
then make us a car.
That's
He's
right.
like, okay, it's the coolest thing.
If you want us to
Well,
have
that's yeah. Make us a van.
Make us a van.
Elon.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's
The
hilarious.
Amish are like, please help. And he's like, hey, okay.
the almond.
Yeah.
He's like, I have time. God.
My favorite animal is cat on Twitter.
Oh my gosh, I learned
So
so much.
funny.
It's just cool to see them interacting with the market.
Yeah.
This is how it was intended to be.
That's
the
right.
marketplace.
That's right.
Mhm.
Like you're listening, you're commenting. He's like, I literally get paid to
Yeah.
like post now because I'm learning about the people
Yeah.
that we serve.
It's so
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Everything's changing.
So good.
in
I
the
know,
best
right?
way. Mhm.
Okay, I want to go back to your clients being confused. I know we're kind of. Is that okay if I
Yes.
just, because we don't like to say that word. We say C word.
Okay.
Yeah, C words of that. Yeah.
We say C word.
Love it.
Like, hey, let's not be C word. I don't want to be C because
That means something entirely different to me.
yeah, I know. Up in here,
So thank you for the clarification. I'd be
Yeah.
like, wow, let's talk about that.
like even Mallory, she sells with us and coaches, and she's like, hey, students might be C word, and I'm like, okay, back it
Like
up.
it's
Like,
bad.
like
if
it's bad.
someone-
It's not cool. Like we really take it seriously.
Okay.
And it's
That's
either
funny.
we call C word or people indulge in being C word.
Mhm.
Because when
Yes.
you are that, it's kind of like, oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm just so confused.
And
Like,
it gives you an opportunity
dramatize
to
it.
fail. Yeah.
yeah, it's a type
an
of
ego thing.
resistance,
Mhm.
honestly. And it's totally a choice because you can say I'm confused or you can say I'm figuring this out. So I want to hear more. Do you feel like the election year is what causes people to be C-word, or like is it like an itch they get, or do you think genuinely they're like, I don't know what my message is?
I want to be clear, it's not a lot of, it was just like an example that came to mind.
Yeah.
It's common though.
It's common.
It is
and that's why I want to talk about it, because I know.
I do think part of it can be the noise on the internet can create a lot of the C word.
Yeah. So you think consumption can create that?
I think overconsumption for sure. And that's something that I had to check at the door for myself because,
I feel like you do a really good job at that.
I go in waves.
Okay.
I've truly gone waves. I finally got the Opal app. Have y'all heard of that?
No, what's that?
It'll actually block your social media.
Whoa.
And it's very helpful.
What do you mean block it?
So like right now, if it's blocked and I go to tap on Instagram, a little screen will pop up and it will say like something inspirational.
Oh, wow.
And you can't go into Instagram. Now you can go through Opal and it makes you wait 7 seconds. Like it tells you to take a breath. So it allows you to catch yourself. So so it's not like, because what do? It's an automatic thing.
Cigarette.
You don't think about it.
You always called it a cigarette.
And you're in, and once you're in, you're stuck.
In. Oh, I need that.
So like it makes you
mindful.
Realize what you're doing, breathe, and then you get to say, take a break or never mind. And then you get to set how long the break is.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll do like, if I need a little hit of dope, mean people, I'll just be like 5 minutes, just give me 5 minutes.
Time is probably helpful.
It's so, and then it cuts you out and you're like, okay, ooh, sorry. And you don't even realize what you're doing, which is it's honestly so sad. Because I'm sitting there like drooling, and then it stops and I'm like, oh yeah, I have work to do. Like, what am I doing?
Gosh. I mean, an hour can go by in a stupid amount of time.
Well, and it also adds up your screen time,
right?
Too, which is terrifying, and it puts it in days. Like you spend this many days on Instagram a year, and you're like, I hate myself. Wow. That's terrifying. So anyway, to answer your question, I think like for sure overconsumption is an issue. So I do think that can cloud your message. You can overthink. Overthinking, my God, is a disease. I think, we were talking about how like men keep things really simple. Women, we tend to kind of overcomplicate, and I don't like to generalize, but I also think we also can overthink things to death.
Yeah.
To death, whether it's our message, whether it's our offer, whether it's our goals, whether it's what we want to wear, whatever. And when you have so many decisions, you're wasting so much energy. So I don't even remember what your original question was, but
I think I kind of just had an awareness about election stuff as a really good example, because you think about it, it feels like life or death, right?
Yeah.
They make two candidates feel like one's going to save your life, one's going to ruin your life, whatever side you're on.
Yes.
So
and
true.
so it's not, and because of that, people who may not usually post about politics are going to start posting about politics. And what does that create? It creates an environment where that's top of mind for everybody.
Yes.
And so then you're seeing it everywhere, and you're like, the room has changed. The club is different.
The
music
different.
changed. The lights are on or they're off, and like it just
they're on, they're too bright, and I hate it. Yes.
the vibe shift is off. And it throws you off when like a creator who's usually talking about making offers or selling or how to dress, like whatever the case may be, health, and all of a sudden they're talking about politics. It's like, wait, like my top of mind environment has changed. Is anyone listening?
Yes.
Right. And so everyone
So
starts to
good.
become like a keyboard warrior because they're trying to save their life.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But like the truth is we're not in survival mode.
Yes.
I know it's like literally so hard to believe in the moment. It's terrifying what some of the stuff you see.
Or I shouldn't
monitor
say anything because I'm being insensitive.
Exactly.
And I shouldn't be selling right now because this is going on. It's like, when is something not going on in the world?
Right.
Like, I get it. Like, if there's something so close to your heart and you're actually moved by something, like, do you? But to play this game of I should or I shouldn't because what are so-and-so going to think and this person's doing, it is never ending. And this is business first and foremost. Like, this isn't a popularity contest.
Right.
And I think like that's one thing that I've been working through, that I've been helping a lot of my clients work through, is like putting it back into perspective. What is the goal here? What are we doing? Let's remember that. Let's not make ourselves wrong for that because we want to make money. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And we're here to help people.
That's right.
Not to get caught up in this whirlwind of a funky club.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's totally that like I don't have anything to add to this right now, and so I'm going to say nothing because it could like upset someone. And you know what's interesting? I noticed about emotion, like because I get fired up about stuff, and then I'm like, okay, if I were to say something, what would I say? And then I don't know what to say, so I'm like, I actually don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, then but
Shut
it's
your
on that
mouth,
topic,
yeah.
not my topic. My topic is sales. I could talk about that.
All day.
So it's like, okay, that's your clue. That's your litmus test to stay in your arena.
Yeah.
When you start overly emotionally babbling. And even if you feel like you're about to cry, that's probably that's most likely a sign.
Yeah.
They need to just not
So
and go
good.
focus on your expertise. So keep in motion in that direction and try to block out the noise
So good.
of that.
Wow.
And I mean, one of the things that I love about you being here in this reunion is that we've both been through like 2 elections, right? You started in 2018. You started in 2018. There was 2020, 2024, and just that experience alone, like I know I sit up taller being like, hey, we've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Not only personally, but in the environment of the world.
Yes.
And I think that clients want to see someone who has stood the test of time.
Who's been there, done that. Yeah.
Weathered the storm. And I've been thinking a lot about this concept because the client said, how do you sell through hell? And I've been thinking about it so much because there is that personal stuff. There's the worldly environment. And I'm curious, like when I say that sell through hell, do you have anything that comes to mind where you're like, this is how I keep pushing, not pushing even, but like pursuing, you know, what you want?
I keep my eye on the prize in that my business, like first and foremost, my job is to keep this business running. It's my career. It's my job. I have clients to think about, have people that depend on me. You know, like we don't walk into a pizza parlor and wonder like, why are you open? Did you not hear about the school shooting in Oklahoma or whatever?
Right.
So
you know what I'm
true.
saying? But like, if you're a business, I hate to say it, but like I feel like women get so much more flack than men for not being sensitive or not. I feel like it gets a lot heavier for us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more opportunity for judgment.
Yep.
So the way that I gauge this for myself is if I am genuinely moved or feel off, I take the day off. I don't force myself to sell. I don't whatever. But if I'm not, like, I'm not going to fake an emotion or not show up out of fear that somebody's going to judge me for showing up.
Like if you feel like, and I know feelings, we could go on and on about following your feelings and stuff, but like genuinely, if I'm having a sad day, it's better to take one day. Like force it and like turn into some weird like month or something. So is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Have you thought more about it?
You know, it's, because
someone asked us this a while ago and we're like, we'll be thinking about this.
Sitting right there. She's like, how do you sell through hell? And I actually texted her and I was like, hey, what did you mean? Like, what are you going through that I can think about you? And she was like, well, like, just last week I was running a sales event and my son had 105.6 fever. And I was like, oh my God, like that's so scary.
I didn't realize that's what you were talking about. I thought you
meant. Well, there's so many types of hells. There's literally the ones where people on the internet are, it's like the world's burning down. And then there's my kid is throwing up and I'm responsible for to showing up as a professional. She's like, one time something happened with my husband, like right before I was getting on a call. And it's like, how do you like be professional? And I think women are just not held to the standard in our own mind or in the culture of it. Like it's social media. It's social. We do this for fun. We do this to make people feel good. It's like, actually, I do want people to feel good. And there's still a duty and a responsibility, to being there.
Well, I also think it's okay to own that you're having a bad day. Like, let's say your kid, in the exact same situation where she was about to do a webinar and something happened with her husband. First of all, like if it's that serious, you get to call off the webinar and push it to a later date, obviously. And if it's not that dire, you get to show up to the webinar and say, listen, I might seem a little bit off. Couple of things just happened. We're good. I'm good. I'm very excited to talk about this. I believe in what we're talking about. But if my energy feels a little bit off, that's what's going on. And I think looking at it straight in the face and owning it, it actually is better because one, it normalizes us being human and having emotions and having a life outside of our business, which will impact your business. But two, if you don't and you try and pretend like everything's great, you can sense when something's off. And then everybody's mind kind of goes wild of like, what's going on? You know, they can't put a finger on it. So then their imagination will create something that may not, it might be better just to call it out.
Yeah.
So I think owning it is okay too.
Interesting. A couple things come to my mind. One is like really silly and one is very serious. And it was in the same day. I was running the 5th day of a challenge. And right before I got on this call, I was going to give the offer. I was like so excited. And my bathroom was getting renovated. And the countertop was being installed. It had taken 4 months to this moment. I'm like, you know, when you're selling, your stuff's going to look good and you're feeling good. You're like, let's go. Okay, well, it gets installed and it is yellow.
Oh.
And it is supposed to not be yellow.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was like, okay, this is not hell, by the way. I know that, which is why I'm going to give you a serious example because I know that's not hell. Trust me. But I was like,
it is
but
a little bit.
But it was 5 minutes before I was supposed to.
The disappointment.
It's a disappointment. Yeah.
And it's like, I would never be like, guys, like I would never acknowledge that, right? My son, oh my gosh, this challenge has shown we do it for 5 days, every single month. So the likelihood of something coming up is very high.
Yeah.
Right? Probability laws. So one time my son, it's at 11, I get a call at 9:30 and he's throwing up. Okay. So, and then no one would help me. Almost everyone, Carl was on the other side of town. My mom was out of town. My mother-in-law was also out of town. The people who were around were like, I'm not watching you throwing up, kid. Like, it's your kid. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I run to get him. I'm like, good for the plot. It's good for the plot. Good for the plot. I even posted about it. I'm like, I'm going to leverage this crappy situation.
Love it.
So I guess that was me calling it out. Like, hey, we keep moving.
Yes.
Put him down for a nap.
This is what this looks like. It's not going to be perfect and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's no business that runs without chaos happening somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the more that we try and plaster something pretty over it and pretend that everything's cool, now we're creating this false standard, this unattainable standard that makes everybody feel bad for having a sick child.
Right. So I think, okay, so that was one time and I put him down for a nap and it actually worked out great. He was like better. Well, that same day as the countertops, which is a totally, different day. I got a text from my dad's best friend and he was like checking in on me because my dad died. And so it's like in the middle of the presentation, I've since turned off my computer notifications. I'm like, I don't want to see anything come through when I'm teaching. But it was like thinking about you, like, can we have his dining room table? Like it would go good in our new house type thing. Like, can we buy it? Because it's a whole long story about the furniture. But I was like, I'm not about to cry. I'm not about to stop everything and explain why in the middle of a sentence this shifted. So for me, I'm like, I am so freaking good at my job that I'm going to be steady. And this is not about me. I'm going to show up for you and I'm going to keep revealing a really good news for you on the other side of this. And I mean, you have to do that a lot. When you're like creating and you're showing up and you're selling all the time, whatever you're talking about, when you're in our business, you're selling all the time. And I've just really realized like my heart is soft, it's not calloused, and I'm freaking tough. To keep pursuing someone else's benefit. That's just been really interesting. And that's the only thing I can think about.
Allie, have you
great
read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield?
I've heard of it. I've been meaning to get that
You will
book.
love it.
So the sequel to that book is called Turning Pro, and the whole thing is about being professional versus amateur, and it's so good. But the one sentence I took away from that book was professionals play hurt.
Yes.
Like if a professional football player had some, like he would never not play. Like you play hurt.
Yeah.
And then so I think about that, number one. And then the other thing I think about is, have you read the book Alter Ego?
No.
What?
I know.
You'll love these so much.
I know.
Okay, you will love it. So it talks about obviously Superman and Clark Kent, but he says, Superman is in the alter ego, Clark Kent is the alter ego. Like, don't you feel like me, this Macy right here, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But he has to transfer it to Clark Kent so that he can be in the ordinary world of ordinary people for the mission of understanding people.
Wait.
And when he's Superman, that's like who he actually is. And so when I had like in my like Macy world, that feels like I went to dinner last night with friends. Like I'm more comfortable doing this than like going to dinner in my Macy world.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it is my mission to like understand people and like learn about people and be with people. So I have to be her. But when my like outer world is hurting, like I slip into like my Superman state where I'm like, oh, this is like my sweet, this is actually where I'm more comfortable. This is where I feel the most that I am. And I'll go back into my alter ego, which is my original Macy, and deal with that later. And that mentality really helps me too.
Oh, that's actually so brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a leader.
Yeah.
You don't stop leading. You don't stop running a business when things get hard because you'd only be running a business and showing up 50% of the time. Like life is going to life.
No kidding.
Yeah. So you have to practice showing up when things are hard. And that's such a really good example of that, of the way that you look at that is brilliant.
Yeah, it really helps me because and like I know for me, like I don't want antibody. I don't want nobody confused that I'm here to serve them. Like I'm here and I'm able and willing and excited to do my job with you, for you. And I feel like if I start revealing some stuff, especially if I'm bleeding versus a scar, you know, like if I'm in the thick of it, that is not the time for them to, and they don't question my ability. They question my ability to focus, question my ability to have a clear mind and like a strong spirit. And I don't want nobody confused. Well, I'm not here to
That's right.
be in therapy with you. I'm here to.
That's so interesting. Yeah, you know, I get myself in trouble sometimes because I don't know if y'all have noticed. I've got quite the spirit. I mean, we all do, but like I can get a little borderline self-sabotagey sometimes. Where like I'll get angry. Yeah, I'll see something and I'm like, I got that smart mouth. Like it's just in me.
So we love you, Allie.
And but here's the thing though, because I love that about myself.
Yeah.
And I get caught up sometimes in like, okay, what does this look like in our businesses? Because there's a part of me that's like, okay, you show up as the leader no matter what.
Yeah.
Period. Like you just said, like no confusion at all. But then there's also the side of me that's like, that's what makes me different in a lot of sense. That's my spice. That's my flavor. And also business has changed. Like this isn't your typical standard business.
Totally.
So I being fully transparent, I am very consistently getting confused on like which side of the line I choose to be. And that's a tough one for me.
It is hard.
Whenever you're like spicy, what are you hoping to achieve? Do you think about that or is it like what you feel in the moment?
That's a good question. It's what am I hoping to achieve? Well, it would depend on the circumstance, obviously, and I'm trying to think of one specifically. But I think it's just being honest. Being honest about whatever the situation is. You know, what I don't like is like this veneer that some businesses or some people have. That bugs me. Like that really bugs me when I feel like there's this veneer and it's always perfect. I think for certain brands, like for y'all, not saying that y'all have a veneer, but for your brand, it works beautifully. You guys have been so consistent and like just lead, sales, boom. Not every business is like that. So I don't know. I think for me, it's honestly like, this is how I'm honestly feeling. This is what I really want to say and I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
But then it's like, ooh, it's almost like, you know, when you partied last night and then you wake up, you're like, oh, did I do that? You know, you feel a little hungover.
Well, the reason I asked like what you want to achieve, because I was thinking about like, there's been times where I want to mix it up and like be spicy in my like, okay, so I'm feeling like sassy. How can I do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I too am like thinking creatively and people are probably like, Catherine, you don't do that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to think about what I would do. Like there's different ways of like, this is like, okay, what example do I use? I feel like TikTok sounds kind of helped us reveal what we really want to say.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? So like to have a flashback moment, like I honestly might need to dip my toe back in by doing that because it really helped demonstrate.
Yeah.
a feeling everyone can relate to without it being
That's
like how I'm feeling, which is not what you're doing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's in me to be
Yes.
like annoyed. And like, I will say when I made content like that, I feel like it didn't come off well. You know, I'm like, I thought it was like passionate and honest. It might just like ground
It
the
can
gears.
be a hit or miss,
you know?
100%. And that doesn't help the hangover after for sure.
That's so funny.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's something that I personally, I will go back and forth on.
That's funny.
Yeah. Expressing yourself is a total art.
It is.
And that's what you're saying, right? It's like,
It
I want to
is.
express who I am and demonstrate who I am.
And I really love people that are super outspoken. Like I admire people like that. And again, it's different strokes, different folks, different types of businesses. It's all about your brand. It needs to be super intentional, which is missing with I need to get more intentional on like what is my overall brand image? How do I choose to show up consistently as a brand? That is the part that I need to get more clear on for myself. But there are people out there, and we can think of them that have wildly successful brands who are very outspoken and who do use their voice for better or for worse. And
Totally.
I personally admire that. I get caught in between how I use my own sometimes.
I mean, the times where you kind of like pop off, I was just watching one. I wish I could remember like what you were talking about, but it came across really good. And I think it's like a level of honest conviction where I was like, if you can articulate it, that probably means you know what you're talking about. If you end up like, not like, Myron always says, like we cuss because we don't actually know what we're trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when we can truly articulate it, it's like, okay, that's a sign that I had my evidence. I feel like qualified to talk about this. And like our brains are operating properly instead of like being mad, which is what I would do. It's like just be mad about it. So that's why I can hold myself back sometimes, you know?
I feel like where people like really get to know us is when they come to our events.
Yeah.
They think like at Sales Mastery Live, we're like, Macy and Kat are funny. I didn't realize that they were funny. I'm like, well, just to delight people, you know?
Yeah.
Delight
Yeah.
people.
Surprise.
But I think that also comes with like being specific, which is what we talked about.
Yeah.
Like I just have no desire, okay. I don't really have a desire to build a following as much as I have a desire to build a business. And so to just casually share for the sake of a following is like so not worth it in any way for me. And I might need to work on this in my mind because now I do desire a following for a specific purpose. I care so much about the specificity of people knowing exactly what we do, how we do it, and they're either in or they're out. So yeah, I don't know.
That's wise though.
Yeah.
I admire that. And I think that's the smarter thing to do.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, and
cannot.
when I was listening to your podcast on resistance to like Instagram, it's like I think we do that when there's not like something to grip onto, you know, because like when all else fails, okay, I can like encourage someone about creating an offer.
Yeah.
You know, I can
Yes.
encourage someone about like create, like you could live your whole life talking about creation, which is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and like especially women who you help, you know, primarily. So that's really cool to just like, I can sink my teeth into this. I can like read all my books about this. I can, if all else fails, just freaking
It's so good.
go.
Yes.
And I tell you, that probably has saved my hiney more than anything.
Yeah.
Is so okay.
filter.
What can I talk about selling? Like, what is an old post I can redo because I'm 10 times better now?
Yeah.
I'm a different person, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be a different post.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
And then
good.
step away from the internet. Step away.
yeah. Like Opal app, everybody.
Yeah, Opal app, y'all.
Oh, I'm
Future
about to get that. I'm
sponsor.
excited
It's
about
so
that.
good.
They should be your sponsor for
I
your
know.
podcast.
I know. Free shout outs.
Let me ask you this. Quitting is never an option for you.
No.
Well, tell me more about that.
Well, the way my personality works is I know there's not a reality where like I go do anything else. My business might look different, but like I'm not going to go get a job.
Bad word. The J word.
I don't say the J word. You don't say the C word. I don't say the J word.
Yeah.
So
But
it's-
like you would never quit and just like stay home. Stay home.
I would off myself. No, it's just not who I am. It's just,
Yeah.
and I know that
Yeah.
that enough. So it's like, yeah, we got to make this work.
Yeah.
And that really serves
Yeah.
me. That serves me a
Yeah.
lot. And it's interesting you bring that up because that's something that I've worked with some of my clients through because I think it can actually be a strength for some women who don't need to make it work. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like a partner who makes a ton of money.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't have a ton of pressure. That can be a really beautiful situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I don't have to
They
rush.
create under that.
Yes. Okay. And
Yeah.
you can create for more of like an easeful situation. But for other women, they will quit easier.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have that grit, that drive.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And then the same is also true for people who, like, some people are really good under pressure. Like, I got to make this work. Some people, that pressure can break them.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, like, I work really well with a little bit of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we got to make this work.
Yeah. And you might be lacking a little pressure right now that I'm thinking about it.
Probably.
Yeah. That's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can't remember where we applied this and learned it, but we totally did, which is like creating falseness to create the things that we need to feel. So like the
Like what?
false sense of pressure.
How do you
Like-
do that?
Like brainwash yourself into being like everything's riding on this. Because if it's literally not, then but you work well with that,
It's
then like
true.
why not
Yeah,
just leverage like something, and it can be true. Like I can't get my car. Like for you.
Yeah.
I just can't. I
Oh,
have the
that's
Porsche.
it. That's mine.
So I'm trying to think. We totally did a manufactured.
I have this story that every breakthrough happens on the other side of pushing your chips in some way. Like our first breakthrough was like when we like renovated this space, you know, borrowed money for it and pay, like I remember that being like huge breakthrough. Or even before that, it was like hiring. It was like, well, I like can't afford them, and like how do we pay them? Like what's going on? And then breakthrough, coaches, breakthrough. Like
Myron, yeah.
it's like your back's against the wall a little bit. So if we can like manufacture that mentally without actually having to do it, that would be
No,
cool.
you know
But
what?
yeah,
Would be
legit,
it.
it does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in 2022, I got pregnant, but also, you know what else I did? That's when I signed up for Melanie, and that was like
I'm
my
telling you.
biggest
I'm telling you.
every single month. So it was like there was no option.
I swear there is something about it.
That is there really, really is. Yeah.
Shoot, I wish I had my journal, but we were about to teach something, and I was actually going to read them a U squared chapter because it's 2 pages, and I was like, okay, let me confirm this if what I'm reading is true. So I started writing, and of course you were one of the line items. I was like, okay, I didn't have $700, but I took like Macy's training at the time, and I did not have $1,200 to work with you because that's all it was at that time. Like that's first of all, buy stock early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, life is crazy when you buy stock early.
Yeah.
But then it kept going. It
Yeah.
kept going. Like there was one, and even when they weren't good, like we paid this one guy $25,000, and it was like we got
It was
a phone call.
terrible.
And but it was actually a totally
Wait,
life changing. It
it
turned into one of
was.
the best stories of our entire business
Why?
That's a good story.
because COVID happened,
Yeah.
and we were like, well, we have him on call, so let's just call him real quick. And he gave us this one piece of advice, and he was like,
well, no, wait. It was a 90-day, 25,000 for 90
Gosh,
days.
90
and we
days.
bought it in January. So it was like our last call with him
and honestly,
too.
he might have
Oh,
even
wow.
been
March.
like, I know this is crazy, so I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
It might have been after the 90 days. which
Yeah,
is
I don't know.
crazier.
Something. But anyway, continue.
Well, he just was like, people need a lifeboat right now. They need a lifeboat because he had all this experience.
Yeah.
If we collapsed, probably who knows what failure or timeline. When he said that, it was like perfect.
We
So
adjusted the messaging a lot.
we adjusted the messaging. Like we had a webinar that no one bought from that like Tuesday or Wednesday. Like perfect lifeboat energy.
Lifeboat in terms of like
This
here's
is
how
how
we're
you-
going to
this
support
is-
you.
This will like make or
No,
break
sales skills will be like that
your
will be
safe.
how you make it through a pandemic.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
it
got
totally was.
Yeah.
And people resonated with it. And I mean, I already believed it was a life. Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't acting like that.
Yeah.
It was feeling very beautiful and optional, and like we're just
Yeah.
like girls doing our thing. It's like no, this is serious. And honestly, our certainty has probably changed ever since.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, this is life or death. Like,
Yeah.
in this moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy. But anyway, so that's one example, and then it just kept going. I'm like, wow, and they kept getting bigger, which was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And you said something about the more you have to lose. And there's that scripture of he who is faithful with little can be trusted with a lot. And there's something to that also. Like I've shown myself that I can do really brave things with a little bit, which means I can do brave things with a lot.
Yeah.
And if my return was from there to there,
Yeah.
how much more
Yeah.
exponential
Yeah.
can the next step be?
That's the
And that's so true
perspective
for
to keep in
you.
mind. Yes. 100%.
What was your year before you did 750?
506.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. like what, like, so basically your $1 million years on the other side
Mhm.
of you, like making some risk.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. That's I lost my nerve.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I lost my nerve. It's back now. I found it.
You have to have a tough stomach to do this.
You really do.
Um,
That's no lie.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, I can't believe you don't have anybody like that. You need some solid teammates to keep you sane.
I know.
That will really help
Well,
you.
also to get support too.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have somebody on my team. I think like just in a more substantial
That's what I mean.
role. Yeah. For
more
sure.
like collaborative versus
More collaborative.
more rather than implemented.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm not sitting in my office
Yeah.
like banging my head against
That's
wall,
right.
It's
Which
lonely
it'd be
for
like
sure.
talking
that.
to myself.
It'd be like that. Yeah.
For
You're so
sure.
inspiring, Allie. You really are. You're such a vibe.
No, y'all are. I just think it's so cool how much time has passed and like to see the evolution of all of us, right? Like when we
crazy.
first came together, we had one kid. You didn't have any children yet.
Mhm.
We had one. And now we have like multiple kids and, you know, the businesses are totally different and the same in certain ways, but like the mission is still the same.
Isn't that cool?
We're
I'm
still
proud
in
of
this
us.
thing.
It's
I am
really cool. It's
too.
very rare.
I'm
It
proud of
is,
us.
yeah.
It's huge.
I'm really
Can't
proud
believe
of
we
us
went
too.
on our little girls trip forever ago.
In
Nashville.
Nashville. We need to do something like that.
We really
again.
do.
Mhm.
So fun.
Mhm.
Man, do you even know how we got connected?
No,
Does anyone know
forgot.
how
Y'all
it all
should know.
started?
One of y'all knows.
Instagram somehow.
How though?
I don't know.
It's so crazy.
No, but it was fate though, because there are some people, you know, people flow in and out, but like you guys have always had like a place in my
Aw.
heart. And it's like, we don't have to talk. It's like a true friendship where you don't
Yeah.
have to talk every day, but like
Mhm.
I'm cheering y'all on. I know y'all
Totally.
are cheering me on. And then
Totally.
we come together and no time has passed.
So cool.
And I want this for other
people.
like go find your people and go get together. I think like that's a
Yeah.
big piece. Make the time.
Yeah.
Like whenever we were talking about, I was like, I'll come down. I want to see the HQ. I
Yeah.
want to see you in person,
Mhm.
you know? And I'm thankful that we did this.
Yeah. It'll fuel up the spirit big time.
Big time.
Big time. Wow.
Good news is we're all just getting started.
Oh yeah.
Which
Wow.
is insane.
That's crazy.
That's another really positive shift of like, okay, listen, we're just a few years in. Calm
Getting our reps
down.
in. Yeah.
We haven't even gotten started.
Imagine us being 80 years old, like running the place.
We're gonna be like Mary Kay because she's like iconic, you know.
Oh.
Like, and people still look up to her like she is
Yeah. Martha
the
Stewart.
Queen, Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
I swear
Daddy.
people just want to see how long you stay in the game before they buy from you.
I think so too.
They just want to see, does she hang long enough?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
she ain't going anywhere.
Well,
That's
there's
how I feel.
something to that for sure, especially depending on what it is that you're charging. You know, people want to know that you're taking this seriously. You're not just throwing a sticker price on something because you can.
Yeah.
I think when
Right.
they see like, oh wow, sales girls are still in the, oh, okay, I'm gonna listen now.
That's right.
Mhm.
So cool. So cool. So cool.
Stay in the game, y'all.
Yeah. That's right. All right, Allie, I want you to tell everybody how they can find you and really how you help people in what stage of their business, what problem you solve, and what result they get.
So I have a podcast, All In with Allie, which I love.
Mhm.
And you can find me on Instagram too, Allie I Reeves. But I hate that you just asked me this question because based on our conversation, it
Just go in.
Right, Liz.
Just go in.
You know it.
Get a rep in.
So I help women create incredible offers. That's my thing. Prior to this, and the reason why I just made that comment to Macy is because it's been a myriad of things that I help women with. But my secret sauce and what I'm
Yes.
really, really, really damn good at
Mm-hmm.
is helping women create those offers that are reflective of them, their businesses, and where they're going,
Mm-hmm.
and a match for that. Whether it's one offer, whether it's multiple offers, that is like, y'all are sales ninjas. I'm offer ninja.
That's
So
awesome.
that's what- yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I mean, we do the sell your offer challenge, and
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest questions is like, my offer either isn't right or I have this idea and like,
Mhm.
I don't know how to get it out. And
There's
all,
a lot of overthinking
yeah.
that takes place.
And the word offers is just like a hot word
Mhm.
right now, I feel like potentially, or maybe it has been.
Well, and it's not sexy either. I help you make money in the same way, like y'all
Yeah.
teach
Yeah.
sales to earn money.
Yeah.
Your offer is the money make. That's the thing
Yeah.
that people actually
It's a means to an
buy.
end,
So it's
yeah.
like I get
Yeah.
it's not anything. That's the thing.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
honestly, people probably like Alex Ramsey's book, $100 million offers. It's like make the offer so good they feel stupid saying no.
Mm.
That's the whole thing of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so if people say no, then the offer isn't right. And so they get so in their head about the offer,
Right.
like they get in this C word
Yep.
about the offer, because if the offer was right, people would feel stupid saying no, so they wouldn't say no, so it must be the offer.
Mhm.
And it's not the offer, it's the evolution of the offer and the selling of the offer, but getting the offer in a way that, and I'll just one more thing, like I know even like our sales page, like we were getting our sales page redone, and I was like, I want to see the sales page, because if I can see what I'm about to offer, I get so excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
I can see it and I feel good
Mhm.
about it. I'm excited about it. It's game over.
Mhm.
And so even if you know your offer isn't going to sell itself, but if you can be excited enough about it
Yeah.
so that you transfer that excitement, that alone is worth working with someone to get it
Oh, it is
on.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And you're right. And I think that's actually really wise that you
Yeah.
do that, because if you're not excited about it, people can, I mean, you can,
Oh, you can feel
fake
it.
excitement all day long. People can feel if
Oh, yeah.
you really believe and are excited about the thing. And that is what moves somebody to want to buy.
So cool.
100%. I'm
Mhm.
curious what you think about this. So when people ask, well, my offer's not ready, or I don't even have one, and I
Mhm.
just started this. One thing I really believe is that you create the offer as you sell it. Like you think you know what the market needs, but you
Oh,
don't really know
Oh,
until
the
you.
amount of time. Yes. And you had mentioned this earlier, and I'm a big believer in sell before you create the thing, in a sense. Like feel people out, put something out there. And then if they bite, then create the thing, but like having a pulse on your people. Oh, I'm all about it. And it always ends up being the best offers
right.
that come to you that you're like, wait a second.
That's right.
A lot of people are mentioning this thing. Here's an idea. You don't need the perfect title yet.
Right.
People just want to know what's in it for them, how they're
Mhm.
going to come out the other side. Hey, I'm going to help you do this. Here's this thing.
Yeah.
We'll figure out the details later. The right people they'll get it.
We say don't work so you know what to sell, sell so you know what to work. That's the flow
Oh, I love that.
right there.
Mhm.
It's a game
And
changer.
if you're not selling, you don't really know what the market even wants, or like is truly desiring,
Yeah.
and how to reflect that back to them so
Yeah.
that you make it the perfect name or the perfect
Mhm.
thing. Because your titles are so good. If anyone like, I hope you have like highlights on your Instagram of all the like LOA Bay, which is
Yeah.
law of attraction. And,
That's
it's so long ago, but it's so good.
throwback.
It just works. Like
my
I
God.
remember it, and
That's
you
so
have
funny.
all bangers like that.
I love you.
So good.
I was like, LOA, babe, that's cute. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you came up with that one.
I did. Yeah.
Anyways, but you make stuff like that because you know what the market is talking about and desiring.
Mhm.
You're not like in your sauna being like, well, what do I like today?
Yeah,
You
no,
do
no.
have maybe like, we all have an element of that because it's
Mhm.
our vibe, but
Mhm.
you really make stuff that people already want.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. But you can't know that unless you are like in the market,
Mhm.
mixing and mingling and selling. And so you've evolved a lot because of that.
Yeah.
It's not one offer
Yeah.
potentially,
Yeah.
but like instant ambassador.
When
And then
I've
you start
created
creating
a
all these different-
lot of offers,
Yeah.
which is I've had my reps there, which I'm simplifying that a lot. But that being said, I can help you create some
Amen.
banger
Yeah, you're a
offers.
genius at that. So
So
good.
good.
Thank you,
So good.
Cool. Did you say your Instagram?
Allie I Reeves.
Allie I. Reeves. Beautiful. You're awesome.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait for more people to find you
This
and then
space
tell
is
us that they laughed and giggled.
amazing.
Thank you.
So awesome.
Amazing. I mean, what a
Sales
gift.
Girl Paradise.
Goals, expansion. Let's go.